Welcome to episode 12 of Pera's Playbook. Today I got Brandon Michalak, wide receiver from Michigan Tech. Brandon, buddy, how are you?
Good. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Got to get some Huskies on. I've had too many Wildcats on, being a former Husky guy myself. So you said something about you guys are doing like 7-on-7s now. Is that every day?
No, yeah, that we're looking to get things kind of rolling earlier in the summer, get the guys moving together and get some chemistry working. Yeah, we do 7-on-7 Tuesday, Thursdays every night, getting the guys that are up on campus right now, which we got to get about one rotation for both offense and defense.
Okay, that's not bad. That's a decent amount of guys that stick around.
Yeah, no, this is probably the first summer, in my opinion, where I've seen like a full roster of guys being able to stay up and be. This is probably the first we've ever been able to do 7-on-7 in July. We're getting guys
Yeah.
actually committed and staying up over the whole entire summer.
That's probably part of like the, kind of like a culture change within the program, but we can talk about that in a little bit once we get to that point. We might as well kind of start with your recruiting. I remember when we were in sports media class together, you were kind of talking about some of the different schools that had interest in you. Did you visit all of those schools? You had mentioned like Dayton or like some FCS D1 schools. Did you visit all of those, or did you just have contact with them?
It was a 50-50 with schools. Dayton I did was one school that I did get offered by and did visit, but there was a lot of the FCS schools in that division like Valparaiso, Eastern Illinois. Those were school visits. So I'd have their assistant coaches or head coaches come into our school and take me out of class and we do those visits. I did a few visits with those schools such as Dayton. And but yeah, it was kind of a 50-50 matchup. And I also did a lot of camps going into my senior year. And that's kind of where I met a lot of the coaches and got a lot of my offers coming out of high school, was going to those mega camps and running really good 40-yard dashes, and coaches getting excited about that.
Yeah. So when you like actually visited schools, did you do the media days and like get tours and like, do workouts for them, or what do you do at a visit?
Yeah, it really depends on what the school wanted out of it. Most schools were just kind of like they knew whether they wanted you or not, and it was more to get you on campus and let you see the facilities and whether they were going to give you your package there. But I'd say there's only one or two schools where I actually did an actual workout at their school. Most of them had saw me at a camp or saw my highlights or something through high school or heard from a coach, and they kind of
Yeah.
pulled me through that. So most of it was just being able to hang out. I'd go with my family every weekend through my senior year, was visiting different colleges and being able to see different campuses, see what I liked, what I didn't like, and what kind of environment I was looking for.
Yeah. So what in the end, what made you settle on tech? Like why'd you pick tech out of your all your options?
I it was This was somewhere where I felt I can make an impact to the team very early in my career, and it was also the overall family culture. This was the first place I'd ever been, even through my high school, where I sat there and I was like, wow, this feels more like a family than even a sports team. Like I have teammates where I can go to no matter what, no matter time of the day, walk into their house. And it was never like that when I was back home. It was more inner city kids to themselves, trying to put themselves on, and weren't really worried about their teammates. So I kind of got that family vibe up here, and I love it. It's the greatest experience I could ask for.
So when you were being recruited by Tech, who were you in contact with the most? Were you in contact with Coach Olson because he was head coach at the time? Were you in contact with like offensive coordinators mostly? Who was your main, go to?
Yeah, I was mostly in contact with Coach Thomas. How recruiting works for pretty much every team in our team is each coach does like a segment region of the area to where they do. And Coach Thomas had Metro Detroit, and so he came to my school, talked to me, saw me to camp, and then kind of brought me into their own camp, which I think was at Brighton, and that's where I kind of met all the rest of the coaches. But Coach Thomas was kind of my main direct contact with Michigan Tech, and me and him grew like a great relationship. Him, especially with my family, him being able to come into town and see me and my family when he'd come in,
Yeah.
it was really cool. That was
Yeah,
what
that makes
he
it.
really made one of the biggest differences that I had him being personable.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like personality and like building a relationship makes a huge difference with coaches and recruiting. Then if you kind of like you just feel like you're just another guy they're talking to, and you're just another name on the list. You don't
Yeah,
feel as important.
yeah.
So you redshirted your first year, but then you started to get your playing time in 2021. I noticed you had 10 tackles and a fumble recovery. Was that mainly on like kickoff or?
Yeah, that was on special. I had never played special teams all through high school, and so I
Really?
had no idea what I was doing. And they throw me into the fire my freshman year. They're like, "You're playing all four special teams." So I was on all four special teams my freshman year, while also playing our third and fourth receiver, slotting outside. And I
Yeah.
got that or fumble recovery was off punt, where I rushed the guy that was returning the ball, and he ended up fumbling it and me jumping on it. And then all those most of those tackles came from kickoff, where I'd be that gunner on the outside, and I just try outrunning everyone to the edge.
Yeah.
But they're just like, hey, get out there, just run fast, and don't think twice. So that's kind of what special teams was for me my freshman year.
Did you play both ways in high school, or were you strictly wide receiver?
I was strictly a wide receiver most of the time. Dakota. I went to Dakota High School, and Dakota High School is the biggest public school in Michigan. So we had about 100 kids on our team, and so you have enough kids to be able to make roster spots and both be able to play both ways, not having to worry about
Yeah.
kid playing both ways as much. We had a few, but yeah, I was able to just mainly focus on playing wide receiver.
Yeah, not like the UP where most schools play both ways. I mean, there's your bigger ones are fine, but you got all the little schools that are definitely playing both ways. You got, like, 18 kids on a team playing 11-man football.
Yeah,
Totally different
exactly.
animal. I'm sure you got
Yeah.
teammates that went through that.
Oh, 100%. So that's why it's kind of cool talking to them and seeing how they, like, some people played quarterback through high school and now they're playing tight end or things like that, being
Yeah.
able to make that transition. Like, I never had to do that, and I just focused on one thing and tried to be the best I could. But it's cool.
Yeah.
And I kind of see how they feel playing special teams and never playing it before. Like, that's how these guys are going from playing quarterback all their life, and now they're moving to a different position.
Yeah, that's got to be hard. Like, you just know one thing in life, and then all of a sudden you've got to, like Julian Edelman or like Ryan Tannehill, these guys that played like positions in college, and then they kind of switch, and all of a sudden you're playing a different position. It's kind of it's kind of weird. It's got to be really tough, like after developing your whole life at one position, now you're playing something else.
100%. And that's why I give mad respect to anyone that is able to change position and have success at what they change to, because it is, every position is completely different responsibilities and athletic tales that it entitles.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's really impressive. You think about, like, guys are like, if you're a quarterback in high school, you're also playing linebacker. Like, you can actually make it through a season or something. Like, the guys playing both ways on small teams. I mean, usually you want your quarterback protected. You don't want him going out there like trying to sack and hit running backs and stuff, because then your quarterback gets his shoulder busted, and then all of a sudden you don't have a quarterback anymore. So I mean, the whole like Iron Man football playing both ways is just it's just crazy. Guys make it through the season.
Yeah, especially when you're playing, like, you get the linebacker, running back type that are getting hit every single play, both sides. Like, just
Yeah.
to be able to make it through a season is a whole, like, accomplishment of its own.
Yeah, it is crazy. So, and then 2022 in this past season, you kind of like really took off from where you were the previous season. You played in all 11 games. You had 29 receptions for 526 yards and then 5 TDs. What do you think it was that, kind of like lets you leap forward? Was it just like your own personal growth, or was it just kind of the way the team changed, or do you think it was kind of like a combination of all those things?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of combination of both. I definitely went into that off season knowing I needed to put out something big, and I went in, especially working my route running. Route running was the main thing I was working on. That was I need my biggest focus for me and my coaches throughout spring ball and that summer, but also just the availability of my coaches seeing, like, oh, we want to incorporate your speed and incorporate type of things you can add to our offense. And I feel like we really kind of capitalized on that this past season of being able to use a deep threat, having Darius across the field for me, being me and him were able to play a really good two-man game of, you can't double cover both. If you're going to cover shallow on him, I'm going deep, and vice versa. And we ended up having really good success between us two off that.
Yeah. And out of those 5 TDs that you had, is there one that like sticks out? Like, you just remember more than the others because it was, I don't know, just that awesome of a touchdown?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, my first collegiate touchdown against Midwest State, that's the touchdown that really sticks out to me. It was the first time I finally got it to connect, finally got it to, like, everything to click. It was on a post route from the right side. And they were in a cover four corner. He was caught him flat footed and just outran him. And the separation that came on that touchdown, I was like, wow, my athletic ability and my speed can definitely hang at this college level. And it kind of gave me that confidence where I know I can be successful.
Yeah, talk about speed. You were on the track team for a little bit too, right?
Yeah, I was running football and track here for the first 2 years. After that second year, Coach Malik, when I came into the season, he's like, we should focus on football, get you going, having a great season as it is. But track definitely helped me up here, and through high school, it has really helped me in my uh, development.
Yeah, I think it's a really good sport for football players. I mean, if you're a lineman, you can be a thrower and you get a lot of extra time in the weight room. And then if you're pretty much any other position and you're doing sprints or anything, I mean, you can build up that speed. And like you were talking about, that speed is so important at this level. I mean, there's guys that are just insanely fast, especially in your conference. You look at the schools that you guys are playing against and like the guys they can recruit. It's crazy the athleticism some of these guys have. It's just nuts.
100%. And then the athleticism you see, especially in guys that are like 6'5", with the 250 pounds, and they're running, who knows, 4.5, 4.4s. Like the people that big shouldn't be moving that fast. And that's what I kind of first started seeing, like when we play those powerhouse schools where you're like, wow, like that is a monster. And then you see these guys end up making NFL. I think there was 5 or 6 guys that we played ended up making NFL rosters or mini camps this past season. You're like,
Yeah.
the competition level is definitely at a high level in the GLIAC.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think there were a couple out of Davenport, Saginaw, Ferris. You got Jake Witt. There were definitely quite a few. Actually, I was surprised at how many there were that
Yeah,
made it to mini camps or got drafted or whatever. It's really like proves how good the conference is to have that many guys out of a D2 conference get a shot at the NFL.
100%.
So, is there a certain game that that you've played in that sticks out more than others?
Yeah, the Ferris State game is definitely something that really stuck out to me. We took them to the fourth quarter, almost beat the defending national champions, and I had my personal best for a career game. Almost had 200 yards on I don't know how many catches, but it was a really good game for me personally, and it was crazy because that night before, which not many people know, but I had food poisoning that whole morning in
Ooh.
pregame everything. So I'd run a route, go through warmups, throw up, go back in. And then the first play of the game I caught, I think it was like a 78-yard completion down to the 2. And get done with that play, turn around, I'm like, coach, pull me out real quick. And I go to the side, throw up real quick. I'm like, I'm going back in. And it was like that it was like every other play I had to run out, try throwing up, whatever, and keep going. But it was bad.
That's brutal. So, I
Yeah.
mean, you still obviously were able to like outrun their cornerbacks and outrun them and outmove them and stuff, even with the food poisoning.
Yeah, no, it I was surprised with myself, and I ended up getting on a like a stutter and go. Ended up getting caught, like shoelace hit right at the end, and my coach was making fun of me, like, "What's wrong with you? Are you feeling okay?" And I'm sitting there like, "No, not at all. Like this is not the time to be."
What did you eat? Like, do you know what it
Oh,
was?
no idea. We stayed at a hotel in Clare that I wasn't really fond of staying at, but we were like, okay, if we're staying there, and then we ended up staying there twice that time this season. So the second time we went, I'm like, I'm not eating there, I'm not even trying it.
Yeah,
So,
don't want
but
to
yeah,
risk it. I don't want to go
no,
through that again.
no,
That's
yeah,
horrible. But that's crazy that ended up being your best game. Like the game that you felt horrible for, you're sick, you're thrown up, you have a career game like that. That
yeah,
had to like prove to you like what you can do too. Like it had to have been a huge like boost for yourself and your own like confidence and everything.
100%. And I didn't even realize it was a career game for me until the game ended. We were walking to the sideline. I was upset. I ended up getting knocked out of that game on a targeting call and on the last drive of the game, and I was all upset. And everyone's coming to me and congratulating me. I'm like, why are we congratulating me? I'm like, my head hurts, and they're all like, oh, you almost broke 200 yards for your first time. I was like, oh, this is sweet.
That's crazy. You didn't even know. You were just like
Yeah, no, I was locked in because when we're facing a team like Ferris State, you got to be locked in the entire game. You can't be worried about, oh, I have this many catches, this many, like stats like that. It's your team's back against the wall. You need to be putting out your all in.
Yeah. No, it's really crazy, like, looking at the GLIAC and the talent there, like we were just talking about. I mean, it's gotta be the best conference in Division II football. I mean, like, last year, we the Ferris Grand Valley, Saginaw, and Davenport were all ranked top 25 at one point. I mean, you got 4 top 25 teams, and the other teams aren't bad. When you look at you guys, Northern, Wayne State, I mean, they're not bad teams. Like they put up a fight. Obviously, you guys only lost to Ferris by a touchdown. So I mean, it's really, there's no easy weeks in your schedule. Your
Yeah.
schedule is so hard. It's really it's crazy.
No,
Um,
100%. It's definitely a gauntlet to go through, but I
oh
mean,
yeah.
the reward at the end is what we're hoping that for the success for this season. It's definitely going to be rewarding if we're going to be able to put it all together and get through.
And I feel like Tech in the last couple of years, it's like right there. You just can't get over the hump. Like 2021, team was 6-4. But you lost to St. Thomas by 3 and Grand Valley by 5. So you could have been 8-2, just like that.
Yeah.
And then last season, you guys were 4-7. You lost to Midwestern State by a touchdown, Ferris by a touchdown, and Saginaw Valley by 5. So again, you're like that close to being 7-4. So I mean, you guys are right there. You're hanging with the big boys within a touchdown of the big boys. I mean, does that give you a lot of motivation now? Like more motivation for the next year, knowing how close you were the past 2 years to having these 8-win seasons?
Oh, 100%. I am super excited for the future of this team especially this next season. All those games that you mentioned, I think almost every single one we were up at or going into the fourth quarter. Like that Midwest game, I ended up throwing a pick six to lose the game towards the end. But like all those games we had in control of our hands, we got to find a way, and I think we will. And I'm very excited for this season of finding that way just to finish off a game and just put a team away and add those extra 1, 2, 3 wins a season. And that's all it really takes to get into the playoffs. And that's all we're looking for, just a chance to be a contender.
Yeah, that Midwestern State game, was it pretty hot for that game?
Oh yeah, it was insane. So we're on our way there, and our bus somehow it kind of breaks down, kind of not. We stop and we end up almost being late to the game. We get there, hop off the bus. It's like 98 degrees and it's just dry heat. I loved it. I personally love that weather. Like you almost walk off the bus and you're like, oh, I'm already stretched. I'm already warm. I'm ready to go. So, but yeah, it
Yeah.
was it was crazy. It was if you're in the sun, it felt hot. But nice thing was it was a night game, so the kind of the shade of the stadium kind of played over the field, so it was a little bit cooler as the game went on. But it was definitely the hottest game. But I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite weather games we've had.
Better than playing in some of the like freezing cold when it's snowing in November at Curly. I mean,
Yeah,
that's got to be kind
yeah,
of tough.
yeah. It's tough, but the nice thing is we're used to it and we're accustomed to it, and it's our environment. So when anyone else
Yeah.
comes in, we've been doing this for months, and they're having to face it for one game.
Yeah, I mean your spring camp is pretty much like a winter camp. I mean,
Oh,
the weather you guys have for your spring camp is brutal. It's
yeah, yeah. As you saw, the weather did not get much better throughout this spring, but I mean, we made the
no.
most of it, and we definitely took some big steps this spring to be better as an entire team, and especially our
Yeah.
offense. I feel is making a big jump.
I think it shows something about your team too when you can play in those conditions and like endure the weather and you got to deal with that. It's a lot harder to play in those conditions, obviously. So like the teams that don't have to deal with that, they don't have to work as hard. Your muscles don't tighten up the same. Like you don't have to take care of yourself the same as you would if you're playing in those freezing cold games, snowing. I mean, that like throws a whole monkey wrench into the game plan and like everyone's just performance. It's really, just like an extra hurdle for you guys to jump over.
No, 100%. It was definitely an adjustment coming up here. I knew it was cold, but I did not know it was going to be this cold. And like
Yeah.
coming from Metro Detroit, like when we barely get snow there anymore. So I've never had a snow game in my career. I'm like never to worry about it. First year I get up here, we have 3 snow games. I'm like, this definitely something to get used to.
Can't remember what year it was, but there was a year I went to a Ferris game and it was snowing and Tech was getting beat pretty bad. It was, I don't know, like they were up by like 40 at the half or something. And I left at the half because I was freezing. I'm not gonna sit here and freeze. I kind of know the outcome. So I was walking down as the Ferris players were walking down, and they were like, bro, you're leaving? You're not going to stay and support the home team? And I looked down, I was like, would you stay? Like, really? Like, come on, would you stay? And they're like, nah, bro, we don't blame you for leaving. Like, it's too cold for this. Like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. You get
That
that in
was
the
my that was
UP.
my red shirt year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was my red shirt year, and I remember we had us fully suited, even though we were redshirt, we were fully suited in game gear, so we were freezing, not moving, and we had to watch in like that blizzard game. You couldn't even see the other sideline at some points. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, sports in the UP are nuts. I remember running like track in high school one year, and it snowed, and and we're like trying to practice on our track, and there's all this inches of snow, and we were like singing Christmas songs as we did track warm ups, just because it was so weird. It's like the end of May, and here's 4 inches of snow on the track. What the heck?
That's insane.
Yeah, no, it was hard. I think Calumet made the news once because they had to like dig their track out and it was so deep and they just like were like running through the middle and there was just like snow surrounding them because they just like dug the track out and the field was still covered in snow. It was they were like on M Live or something because it was just stupid.
Really?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a different beast up here than it is for like downstate sports or I mean, but then like northern, I mean, they got the dome, so they don't have to worry about that for football because they're practicing in a
Yeah.
dome all year. That's one thing I think Tech needs an indoor facility. I know we talked about that in class. Like that's the next
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. I wish it was made in my time. Man, would
Yeah,
I be. But I
yeah.
think they will be in the process of making it soon.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to. You got to keep up with the times, and everyone's got something. You look downstate, some of those schools, Saginaw's is really nice. Grand Valley's facilities. I mean, you just got to keep up with the times. And you guys are getting the new locker room, and the fields had renovations. So I mean, it's starting. Like
Yeah.
there's good things coming. Have you been in the new locker room? Is it all done?
It is not done yet. It's still under construction, but I am super excited. I've seen a few of the things that have gotten put in, and I've seen the overall plan, and it looks sweet. I'm really excited for what's in store for the full team in the locker room.
Yeah, way nicer than the old one.
Oh, yeah, I'd say so.
I remember what some of the stories you told, and it just sounded brutal.
Yeah, what wasn't the most favorable conditions, but
Yeah, it's got to help with recruiting and stuff too. Like kids will walk in and they say like, "Oh, this is sweet," and like this is gonna be our locker room. Like I can dig going here every day.
yeah, no, you definitely have seen already. But when you talk about culture change, you definitely seen a lot more advancements in recruiting, and it's been super cool to see like just the recruitment photos and photo shoots and different types of media stuff they're doing for recruits to kind of post and get their name out there, and it's really cool. Like that was never around when I got recruited, but
Yeah,
seeing these guys go through it and seeing their posts on social media, it's been really cool to kind of keep up with that.
yeah. Well, and that's like the biggest thing with like recruiting now. You look at all the recruits. Everyone's getting a media day and like some sweet photo shoot. I mean, especially at D1 schools. You look at I don't know, like North Carolina's got a really sweet like media day they do with their recruits, and obviously Alabama, Michigan, and all those schools. But even at the D2 level, I mean, the kids want to kind of show off, like, hey, look at my recruiting pictures. Like, this is where I'm going. They want to show it off. So you got to be able to do something for them.
Yeah, no. I mean, kids work that hard to get there. They want to be able to show what
Yeah.
they've done. You don't want to do that all that hard work. And some people post a little more than maybe they should, or
Yeah.
but I mean, work in silence. But it's cool to be able to show what you can kind of be around.
Yeah. It's cool to be able to at least put like one post, like your committed post, and have some like kind of cool
Yeah,
media pictures. Like some guys, like you said, maybe they put out a little too much, but you want to be able to at least have a few photos for like that one, like, hey, I'm committed, husky up or
yeah,
whatever. I don't know, whatever the hashtag is for the. I feel like Tech doesn't really have a good hashtag like for like athletics.
yeah. I mean, Kelvin was talking about how he says like follow the Huskies. I think that's kind of one he uses
Yeah.
for hockey. I mean, we football team we go dogs. Like that's kind of our thing. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. That's better than follow the Huskies. Like
yeah,
that doesn't have much like pep to it. I don't know. It doesn't
yeah,
get people fired up.
yeah.
So we keep talking about the like new culture and everything, and a lot of that comes with your new coach. Dan Metlack promoted to head coach. What do you think so far? With him being the head coach, you like it a lot better? Do you think that like it helped move the program in a direction it needed to go?
No, I really do love it. I feel like the direction of the program is going in the perfect way, and we're on an incline, and we're going to keep going that way. I've had Medlack coach me my whole entire career being offensive coordinator, and he's had the largest impact on my development I could ever ask for. He's taking me to places, taught me things that I never thought I could learn and do, and he's always pushed me to be my best. And that's kind of what he does for the whole entire team. I've seen how he's coached me, and he hasn't changed whatsoever. Moving to a head coach, he's applied that to everyone else. He expects nothing but the best and just to work your ass off. I mean, he wants you to be the best of your capability, and you can truly see that in everything you do.
It's going to be interesting. You got Tech and Northern, both with new head coaches, both guys who played for their teams back in the day. It'll be it's kind of like, I mean, I think you guys are definitely farther ahead, but you're following similar paths. Like teams are both trying to rebuild. The teams are both trying to like move in a bit better direction. They got younger head coaches who kind of have a different mentality than maybe their older coaches. It's just kind of interesting that the two biggest rivals are kind of going through the same thing in some respect right now.
Yeah, no, and it's super nice for our team. That's why I've said I've been so excited for this season. We have a lot of us have been underclassmen our whole entire career playing, like
Yeah,
starting and playing for our team, and we're finally those upperclassmen. We're finally those older guys, so we can be able to not only lead but also show by example and how we want to be able to be playing on the football field.
you got to keep that miners cup. I've been talking to those northern guys, and they want it. They want it back because they haven't had it in like 16 years or
Yeah.
whatever. But you guys got to hold on to that.
Oh yeah, it's got a nice place in our trophy case, and we're hoping to keep it there.
Yeah. So you mentioned between like 2021 and 2022, you worked on routes a lot. Is that still like what your focus is? You focus on like what do you focus on the most in your off season training?
Yeah, off season, I definitely focus on just overall craft of being a receiver. You work on your footwork, your releases, and your routes. I feel like speed and everything that kind of comes with our lifting program, everything like that, and being naturally a little bit faster than most. I kind of still focus on it, but it's not going to be. I'm going to want to bring my weakest parts of my game up, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do over these past years. And I kind of feel like I've made them prominent roles in what I do, and turning route running into, oh yeah, whatever, to, oh, he can run the route tree, he can do this.
Right.
Like there's nothing we're oh, he can't do that.
Get some flashy highlights out there.
Yeah, that's what we're just trying to be, an overall well-rounded player and being able to be applicable to any situation that I can be
Yeah.
in.
You want the announcers at the game to be just like screaming their heads off because you made a move and you made a guy just look sick, and you just like you want some of those flashy highlights, and like you said, like the people are just like, oh, like he can do that. Like you want people to like understand like hey, this kid's for real. Like you got to watch out.
Yeah, that's I'm trying. Yeah, trying to make a highlight anything I can.
Yeah. So, in some like tech stuff, growing up, who was your or what was your favorite NFL team? You a Lions guy, being from Metro Detroit,
Yeah, I've
sadly.
always been a Lions guy. I was born on Thanksgiving, so every
Oh.
Thanksgiving growing up, we would go to the Lions game because every year it's on Thanksgiving. So we'd
Yeah.
go there for my birthday, and it was always just something I loved growing up. Watching Kelvin Johnson and Darius Slay growing up was the highlight of my childhood.
Lions, I mean, there's a chance for them to be. I mean, they were a lot better last year, actually. I mean, they kind of surprising there. They had like that little win streak. But I mean, moving on to next season, the NFC North is going to be interesting. I mean, the Packers, I think, are going to be the worst team easily. The Bears are kind of a question mark. The Vikings should be decent, but I feel like it's kind of anyone's division right now. The Lions have a definite shot.
It's definitely anyone's division, but if potential was equaled wins, I mean, Lions would be at the top. I mean, we have all the potential in the world, but you get so skeptical after seeing all the past seasons of, oh, we were this close, oh, this and that. Like all we got to do is put that one season together, and I definitely think they make a run this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's going to be a fun year to watch the NFC North. Like, and for once, the Packers will be on the bottom.
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah,
I don't, I don't think there's a chance they'll be really that good. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't think there's a chance if Jordan Love's their quarterback that they're going to be that good. But they've been on top for a long time, and every team's got to go through that cycle. And I know being a Lions fan, you'd probably like to see it.
yeah, 100%. I mean, just to hear Lions at the top of the division, just even talked about, it hasn't really been around in my life. So
No, you
it's
know,
nice. It's to be on the fan side of a winning team, or a potential winning team for once.
right. What do you think about Jared Goff? I know a lot of people like they were like, "This is horrible." None of them wanted Goff, but last year I feel like he did a pretty good job. Like he's actually like, "Hey, this guy, he's not bad." What do you think? Like as a Lions fan?
Yeah, I think he's the perfect game manager. He's the type of player we'd want for an offense is someone that you have weapons around him. You have a great O line, great running back room, great receivers. Just someone that knows how to get the ball where it needs to be quickly and or efficiently. Like as I think you'd see all the stats of he's top 5 in passing, top 5 in
Yeah,
almost everything, just because he knows where to put the ball at the right time. And that's all
yeah,
you really want. He doesn't need to be flashy. He doesn't need to be
no,
throwing 70-yard bombs, but he'll put that ball in the money where it needs to be, and that's all you can ask for.
yeah. He's efficient. Like he's accurate, and that's more important than the flashiness sometimes in the NFL. Because guys who maybe can't do it, they try to be flashy, and then they start throwing pick sixes and interceptions, and because everyone's got that arm strength. But if you're not the most accurate with the arm strength, then you're just giving the other team a free possession. So growing up, were you was Megatron your favorite wide receiver?
Yeah, he was definitely him and Julio were definitely just like fan favorites. Like I always loved him growing up. As of right now, my favorite receiver is Jameson Williams. He's been someone I've been following him since
Really?
college, and I try modeling my game after him. That's kind of who I see myself as when I go on the football field. Watch a lot of his film, a lot of his footwork, because I feel like my game can translate very closely to what he does, especially even playing special teams and how he
Yeah.
played punt and did different things. It's kind of what I did through my career. So it's always been cool to watch a speedy guy kind of take some notes from him.
Yeah. So when you watch, like the NFL, are you just like taking notes the whole time, or do you just try to watch it for fun, or do you kind of do both?
See, yeah, I haven't watched the NFL for fun as much as I used to. It's more I kind of if I see something, I'll kind of rewind, look, kind of break it down. I 90% of the time I'm watching the receivers. I'm
Yeah.
not never really watching what's going on in the backfield. I'm looking on this guy's press up. I want to see what kind of move he uses. Like
Yeah.
maybe go back to the field and be like, maybe I should try that. And it's different
Right.
things because being a receiver, you're looking at being creative, and it's the best part of being positioned.
Oh yeah, and it's obviously those are the best guys to take notes on because they're the best at it.
Yeah,
So,
no, 100%. And
um, who do you think is gonna win the Super Bowl? I know it's a really early question, but like I'm gonna put you on the spot here. It's gonna be recorded, so we'll be able to look back and see if you stick with your word. Who's gonna win the Super Bowl? Who's your pick?
I mean, I'd love the Lions to win, but the 49ers look like they have a good team. If Brock Purdy can come out healthy out of this offseason, I think they have a really good shot at winning it. They have no weak spot on that team.
Yeah, they're really good. If he can't do it, it'll be. I still think they could be a really good team without him. They still have Trey Lance, right?
Yeah, they still
So
and
I mean,
they have a third quarterback too. They have Sam Darnold too.
oh yeah. So I mean, like without, I think he should be the guy, but without him, they're still gonna be a playoff team, and who knows what they could do. I'm gonna go with the Jets. I know that's probably, I'm gonna say Aaron Rodgers is gonna come back. This is like revenge tour out of Green Bay. And I mean, they got a really good defense. I don't know what their offense is going to be like. I think it depends a lot on if Brees Hall is going to be healthy because he was having a really good rookie year till he got hurt. And I mean, they got a pretty good receiving core. Can't think of drawing a blank on their number one guy.
Garrett Wilson.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's pretty good, and I think with a guy like Rodgers throwing the ball, he can really take off. He's gonna have an explosive year. I mean, he kind of had to deal with Zach Wilson and Mike White, and it's kind of hard to excel at that. So you get Aaron Rodgers throwing him, he could be a top 5 guy in receiving yards next year. I mean, you never know. I mean, it's I think the Jets would be kind of like they're my sneaky pick to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, even if they don't win Super Bowl, I know Garrett Wilson's gonna have a great year.
Oh
When you
yeah.
give him a quarterback like that, like whether they win it or not, he's definitely a fantasy. If you play fantasy, he's definitely a receiver you want on your team.
Yeah, he's going to be a high fantasy pick this year. I think. I mean, he definitely could be. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. The potential's there for him to just go off and really make a jump this year.
Yeah.
So, how about we end on just like kind of, do you have any personal goals? I mean, obviously you kind of talked about team goals. You guys want to make the playoffs. You want to get back to like, that the program was there for a little bit, like whatever, 10, 15 years ago. You kind of want to get back to that. But do you have any personal goals? Do you have a yardage mark you want to hit, touchdown mark you want to hit?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like yardage or touchdowns. I don't really have any goals for that. I have really high expectations for myself. I'm looking to build off a great season. I off honorable mention this past season for all GLIAC. I That first team is what I'm really looking for. But I know if I'm pushing for first team all GLIAC, I know it comes with team success. And
Yeah.
when you have team success, it comes hand in hand. So that's kind of what I'm really looking at is just doing well as a team. And if I know our team's winning, I know personally I'll be having a great season, and I know that the accolades will all come along.
Yeah, like they definitely go hand in hand. It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of hard to, if your offense is humming along, obviously defense is a big part of it, but your team's going to have some success. So it's definitely going to go hand in hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. So Brandon, thanks for joining me on this episode of the podcast, being the first Husky football player. Had four Northern guys on before you, so we got to catch up with the Huskies.
yeah. No, I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.